my name is Celestita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and we're reading Saturnastra Loki. This is chapter 11, part 3. After saying that, he stood on his tiptoe and kissed his grandma on the cheek, who was sitting down, and the height difference seemed astounded Ingrid, and she could see why the giants did not bother much to with furniture, and to see that her Locoris' way was made of camphor wood with ovoce legs, and Ingrid asked, "Why do you leave us nomads?" No, we sort of fell into it, and we like taking care of animals in our plants, and those who get bored of taking care of animals become hunters to kill them, while others try their luck in the cities, explained Locoris. "Oh, so you do not have the same building anxiety like the rest of the puny races," said Ingrid. "More or less, and we could easily live without a roof over our head, just the same as humanoid species can do without clothing on their back. And it is a little luxury that we prefer to indulge in from time to time," explained Locoris. "Who is your?" asked Ingrid. "Perry, that," answered Locoris automatically. "And how do you know what I was asked?" started Ingrid. "I'm going to say," said Locoris. "It's not as if I can read mine, like our dear Loki. Rather, one does eventually get tired of answering the same questions over and over again. And outsiders see giants and get suddenly branded as part of the monster race, and they act like we would have societies that are completely different from their own. Yes, we are different, but we all drink milk, do we not?" Looking at him suggestively, Ingrid realized that giants were not so different from the societies and the people she had met in her journey, and though she recognized as warriors wore armor with some very similar to the ones sported by humans, the elves, and the dragon riders, and so were pretty individualistic attires like the ones sported by Locoris. And his costume consisted of a squarish blouse that only went a couple of inches below the breast, with a low red skirt with suit, white sash covered in geometrical patterns, and her hands were decorated with smooth golden bangles, and the only sense of age were in the hundreds of lines painted in her face, and her long smooth silver hair, and based on what Ingrid had seen, there was not a definite style of clothing one could call the giant attire, and the overall theme focused on color and geometrical patterns. "I heard in the war that the giants killed many humans," said Ingrid, changing the subject. "Not as many as the mosquitoes or other humans, as Loki would say," said Locoris. And she added, And why should it matter to you? After all, you're not human." "Really, I was under the impression that I was part human, seeing as my mother was human," said Ingrid. "Oh no, my dear, you are a rose," said Locoris. While Locoris said left Ingrid in one of her reverie moods, and she left then and started gazing at the night sky, and in a sense she reached that special balance where a person finds itself almost asleep but still very much awake, and the red flowers rustled and ebbed, making a sound which reminded Ingrid of the sound of the ocean, and the animals within their pens were asleep, and Alida was making her way to see Loki, and when she reached the tent she stopped and turned back for a couple of minutes, and she stopped once again and she returned to stare at the entrance of the tent, and she was feeling rather foolish indeed. And one of the guardians passed by her and not giving her a second glance, and she heard the faint sound of words, and drawing closer she started eavesdropping on the conversation. "And now we are here," Alida heard Loki say. "Seems like enough time to go on vacation," commented Perida, putting his quill down for the moment. "Just because the entire continent is in turmoil doesn't mean that you have to put your plans on hold," said Loki. "I suppose not, as long as one is prepared for eventuality. Speaking of which, the little people have started to be a bother again," said Perida. "And the families will be coming together soon to see how we deal with this problem. You have either two options, either retaliate or build a wall or hide behind a mountain as the dragon riders do," said Loki. "Must that be our only option?" said Perida. "I was not too keen on rearranging our lifestyle to revolve around the little people's petty squabbles over land. You could forge another Bersinian arrangement with a whole and have them deal with the little problems in exchange of trivia," suggested Loki. "We tried that already, and in the later years we saw more and more actions than we would have liked," said Perida. "You could just leave the continent and move to a place that doesn't have any little people," suggested Loki. "Is there such a place?" asked Perida, a bit surprised, and he added, frowning, "No, why should we give up our home just because the little people consider us a nuisance?" "Don't ask me, ask them," said Loki. "What a bother," said Perida. And Adonis came looking around and flexing his wings, and smiling. Loki said, "Do you want me to take care of this one?" "I would very much appreciate it, and do make haste in case they try to burn the fields again," said Perida. And a strong wind chilled through Alida's furry coat, and with the wind there was a familiar heavy scent of fire, and over the horizon she could see a tremulous mass of black smoke rising towards the heavens, blocking out the night sky. And Loki expanded his flame, and taking gulps of air, and filled with oxygen and nitrogen, and the water vapor within the mist descending from the mountains. And his body was taken, and a more Morpheus' misshapen form, and as he mentally decided what creepy visit she wanted to take. And he felt a slight poke in his ribs, which made him deflate somewhat, and looking with his curving 8 eyes, he saw Ingrid standing behind him. In a serious tone, Ingrid said, "There's no need for you to head out into battle. You have done enough. My trolls can take it from here." "We were afraid you were going to say that," whispered one of the nearby trolls lurking in the shadows, and he signaled to the others who were camping nearby, a nearby broken bridge, and they headed towards the fire to engage the enemy forces, and they returned after 10 minutes a bit deflated. Ingrid asked, "What happened?" "Nothing. So highwaymen were camping, and they accidentally lighted up some of the flower fields, and we caught them in the middle of turning out the fire." And they apologized, and then they went back to their stakeout operation, or whatever the hell they were up to, explained the Troll Knight. "So they were not here to attack the moon?" asked Loki. "No," said the Troll Knight. "Are you certain?" insisted Ingrid. "You are welcome to interrogate them if you like, my dear princess," said the Troll Knight. "And we should ask them to move just to be safe," thought Ingrid. "Or we could just kill them if it pleases you, my princess," suggested the Troll Knight. "It's that attitude that has earned us trolls a bad reputation," snapped Alida. "No, it is probably your day-to-day interaction with people not belonging to your species," suggested Loki. "It isn't our fault that people take jobs too seriously," said the Troll Knight. "And we should help out the giants in their plight against the little people," said Ingrid. "Since when do you care about anyone but yourself?" asked Alida. Loki then said, "We giants can take care of ourselves just dandy, though one does eventually grow tired of being on guard all the time." Locoris had only heard the gist of the conversation, and he added, "I know that trolls are nocturnal, but please, we have work to get done, so grant us a common courtesy of shutting the hell up and say you a good night." The sisters Loki and the 10 Troll Knights whispered in unison, "Sorry," and they then proceeded to be hush-hush with one another, and rolling his eyes, Locoris said, "You guys are a bunch of jerks, you know that?" And the night slowly drawn on, and eventually even the wind stood still, and the fire was already put out, and even Ingrid had managed to fall asleep, and Alida had nestled inside Senia's teacup, and something about its shape and smell made Alida feel warm and fuzzy. And close to morning, Locoris had awakened to let the sheep and goats out to graze, and he found a guard dog fast asleep, and meanwhile other animals were cowering in the corner of the pens, and this was unusual for them. And after doing a head count, he was ready to know that all were accounted for. And it was morning when he finally completed his count, and Perilla, who was an early mariner, noted that the animals were not going out to graze, and frowning he asked Locoris, "Did you just wake up?" "Not really, the livestock doesn't want to head out," explained Locoris. "I better get Loki," said Perilla, guessing that something supernatural or magical was afoot. And he found Loki asleep while hugging one of the guard dogs, and both had a very similar tired dog expression, and not keen on bending. Perilla jabbed at Loki with the tip of his foot. And John and Loki arose, and the guard dog, a great Dane named Zeus, about 60 inches in height, awoke, and even with his great stature by dog standards, he still felt like a puppy for giants such as Perilla, who towered over 4.5 meters in height. And the tallest living giant up to date was Perilla's great-great-grandmother, who went by the name of Sia, who was 9 meters tall. And riding a couple shepherd after, Perilla went along with Loki to investigate the animal pen, and indeed something was frightening them some. And after looking about and digging a bit, time, bro?
6 minutes.
They found the ground gateway under Loki, and he fell a couple of feet into something that resembled a cave. And finally Locoris asked, "How long has that been there?" "It looks relatively fresh," commented Loki. "I wonder who made the tunnel," said Locoris, kneeling down to look below. "I don't know, maybe my brother Ahi, who's part mole, or perhaps humans digging for mines that somehow ended up here of all places," suggested Loki. Daidan then said to Loki, "Ahi only travels to temporary spaces and in already existing ruins." "I suppose I should give a complete survey of the tunnel," said Loki. "Good luck," said Daidan. "You're coming too," said Loki. Daidan frowned, but in the end he followed behind Loki, serving as literal eyes behind his back, and Loki was a bit of an idol, staring and gaping in all directions by extending his hair, which trembled and blinked as it generated thousands of eyes which looked at everything. And the tunnel was indeed man-made, and there was a faint sound of hammering in the distance. And as he walked forward, he felt the tunnel gain a bit of an angle, and eventually the hammering and chirping sound stopped. and it was soon followed by the sound of rushing water, and fearing being swept away, Loki jumped towards the roof. However, the tunnel was narrow at its intersection, and the high roof he had seen at the start of the cave was due to another rock formation, and eventually he saw the shape being swept away by the current, and Loki grabbed hold of the ship and he used his hair to protect him from the water. And when the level of the water dropped enough, he deposited the fellow on the ground, and standing before him was a humanoid of an unknown make and origin, and his skin was ashen color with round black eyes, human features, small mouth, and very sharp-looking teeth. And there were scales running down the surface of his hands, and his back and spines reminded Loki of an iguana. To avoid misunderstanding, Loki asked the fellow using his telepathy, "What are you doing here? What does it look like?" asked the iguana man. "You are digging a tunnel," said Dryden. "The question is why?" Time?
4 minutes.
"My tribe lives in the desert, and we are diggers. And we diggers have been building tunnels for generations to bring fresh water back into our city," said the iguana man. "I see," said Loki. "Now, if you excuse me, I must survey the area to get back to work," said the iguana man. Loki left the iguana man instead of making his way back, and he walked in the direction he guessed the iguana man had come from, and eventually he reached an area whose walls seemed like the basement of a castle, and the iguana man had dug through the place and had continued forward from there, following the scent of water. "Ah, I see what happened," said Dryden. "Well, we can't have a tunnel running beneath two spaces, and we have to send him home and patch this hole up," said Loki. And after making it to the start of the other tunnel, he noticed the difference in sediments, and after touching the walls and smelling them, he said, "This is a break-off point, and we have to tear down the tunnel from here." "I don't know," said Dryden, who was unfamiliar with tunnels. "Though we can't spare any, and besides, we do not know if there is any contaminant that might be dangerous for the iguana folks," said Loki, trying to convince them. And returning to the iguana man, Loki said, "Hey, digger, why don't you return to your main tunnel and take a different route?" "Why?" "Just when I was finally struck water," said the iguana man. What does your sky look like? Do you get any stars, or is it just the sun?" asked Loki. "I do not quite follow," said the iguana man. "Must I spell it out for you?" said Loki. Oh. "So what you're saying is that I somehow managed to tunnel my way into another world. Is that what you are implying?" "This is madness," said the iguana man. "Please take my word for it, and if you don't believe me when I say that you are trespassing and stealing our water. And do you at least understand the concept of ownership? And do you understand that you are a thief, and that you have been caught red-handed?" said Loki, looking sternly at the iguana man. The iguana man smelled it and felt a heavy presence in the back of his neck, and he remembered the words of warnings of his forefather whenever a digger got that heavy feeling on his back while awake. It was their cue to turn back and destroy the newly formed tunnel. And somewhat disappointed, the iguana man started to return home, and he was at least somehow satisfied by all of the water he had managed to siphon during the conversation. And meanwhile, back in camp, Alida had gone to explore the nearby forest and had discovered a lake. And she was much surprised to see it suddenly drain as if somebody had pulled the plug in a nearby bathtub. And Loki did not do this, but he made a mental note to check to see where the water had been lost. And when the man made it to the entrance of the place, which resembled a cellar, he stopped and he hid inside the tunnel. And there was a strange creature lurking about, and Loki saw the creature snarling and snapping his teeth. And Loki could not see the teeth, only its tentacle face and the eyes within the tentacles, and from time to time it exhaled noxious green gases from the holes in the side of its oval goopy face, and the creature eventually passed by, and Loki was able to give a sigh of relief. And the iguana man was frozen solid. He tapped the man once and twice, and the iguana man eventually blinked twice, and without saying a word, he ran through his tunnel, tearing down the temporary supports as he went by. And Loki did the same for his end, and eventually both tunnels were no more. And the problem was that the iguana man had more experience with tunnel destruction, and eventually Peridot saw Loki climbing out of the ground covered in dirt and mud. "What in the world happened to you?" asked Peridot. "Nothing much. The tunnel caved in on me. But other than that, everything is fine, and I'm going to the lake to get cleaned up. Be back soon." Alright, so let's leave it here. Bye bye and God bless.